Hello, good to see you. We are really happy to host today's webinar about the Fiskaly receipt, our digital receipt solution. So, also we are happy to say hi to so many participants. From my perspective, that's a good sign and actually the proof pretty much that a digital receipt solution is pretty much what is needed in those days on the market and really raising a lot of interest. So hi, my name is Elias Briching. Next to me,
Lucia Dolce. Hi everyone.
Exactly, and as you can see on this slide, pretty much we also have a third colleague in today's webinar. He will appear in just a couple of minutes after the first introduction round. So what's going to happen today is, after a short introduction about Fiskaly and all the products and solutions we provide, we will dive into the topic of the digital receipt directly. We will talk about the trend versus NUISANCE, the ecosystem we are currently building when talking about different fiscalization solutions, and pretty much direct and value-adding receipt solutions. Then we will talk about the Fiskaly receipt itself, a little bit about the technical stuff and what you have to do to use it. But what is the most important topic of today's webinar is actually talk about all the value adds we and you can provide for your partners, for your stakeholders and your ecosystem. So to put it pretty blunt, from my perspective, I'm always talking about the receipt solution as a solution where you can kind of expand your revenue, lower your costs, and also provide more innovation to your customers and your stakeholders. And that's pretty much the headline for today's webinar. At the end of our presentation, you will pretty much know in detail what I'm talking about when saying expanding the revenue, lowering costs, and provide more innovation for your customers. Let's start with a brief overview about Fiskaly. So Fiskaly was founded in 2019. Back in the days, our first solution was pretty much the fiscalization solution for Germany. Overall, we are now the market leader in the DACH region with fiscalization and the receipt solutions. And we are happy that we can serve more than 500,000 POS installations with our services. And also behind that, we are talking about more than 500 POS vendors and system developers, but also big and small retailers. It's pretty much the whole spectrum where POS system is used. Okay, since I mentioned now a couple of times the fiscalization, you know, fiscalization is not the focus topic of the day. Nevertheless, we want to use the opportunity of the day to also talk a little bit about it, but the receipt solution will be in the focus in actually a couple of seconds. So pretty much fiscalization is covering legal tax requirements for a POS system. And at the moment, we are providing solutions for Germany, Austria, and Spain. And this year, there will be 4 more countries to come where we can provide a fiscalization solution. Don't get confused. If you're just here for the receipt solution, it's not a problem at all. We are happy if you are using our fiscalization solutions as well. If you don't, please reach out. Let's have a chat about the solution we are providing and all the value adds. Nevertheless, it's also not a must-have for using the receipt. Okay, now I'm actually already at the point where I will say goodbye, but just for a couple of minutes, I will return at the end of today's presentation. Also, one note, you can ask questions anytime, and we have a special time slot for answering your questions at the end of this presentation.
So with that, I will take over. And the question we want to answer ourselves today is, everything is by now digital. We have a digital POS system, we have a digital inventory, digital accounting, digital payment. The only question that is remaining is, at the end of the entire checkout process, we still get a digital printed receipt, and we are asking ourselves why. So having a look at that, getting the printed receipt at the end of the checkout, we know for a fact that 90% or even more of the printed receipts are lost at the end of the day or wasted. They get thrown into the trash almost immediately once you get them. And the question is this necessary? If we have a look at the numbers here, for example, in a country like Germany or the UK, there is a yearly budget that is being wasted, and I truly think it's being wasted if it's thrown into the trash, of 32 million euros every year that is used for printing the receipts. But also on the environmental side, we have more than 200,000 trees that are being cut down and wasted each year just for the purpose of printing the receipts. So if we take a look at these numbers, the question is, can we use that a bit more resourcefully? For example, the 32 million euros could be spent on budget for marketing, getting traction with your customers, using the money a bit more effectively to increase your revenue instead of wasting it on some paper trash. But also looking at on the environment side, we know that 75% of consumers want the merchant, they want the retailers where they're shopping to be more responsible, to be more socially responsible. And by reducing the waste or the number of trees that are cut down, is one way to do it, and thereby make the customers be one sort of increase your liking to the consumers.
Thank you, Stefan. But now, what is with the consumer? Are they ready for digital receipts?
Indeed, excellent question. Here we can see that 89% of the consumers, they already prefer a digital option at the checkout. And that is quite a lot. And even then, looking at the opening rate, where we see with retailers and merchants that are already issuing digital receipts, that have already switched to the new standard, 70% of the receipts are being opened and are being used with the new platform. Having a bit more detailed look there, of course, we can see some differences in industries, especially in industries like jewelry, apparel, where you buy expensive clothes or things like that, where you maybe want to have a warranty. Especially in these cases, the adoption of the digital receipt is especially high compared to maybe daily groceries, although still relevant. But Lucia, let's hear more about the country specifics.
Yes, so actually what we discovered is that digital receipt is not anymore just a feature that is nice to have. It's actually becoming a legal requirement. For example, in France stood up, and as of April 2023, so actually in 3 months, the anti-waste law will be enforced, and this removes the printing of receipts, and once the receipt is actually issued digitally. And there are rumors of other countries following France, for example, Luxembourg, Poland, already in 2023. So I am sure that many more will follow just after this. But also, you know, there are retailers. We are already aware that some retailers, some big chain supermarkets, I would say Lidl in the German region, Rewe, Carrefour, they're already offering digital receipts, at least to their fidelized customers. So we see the movement starting there.
So the question then arises, what is a digital receipt? And I put a little screenshot here, but I would encourage you all to take out your smartphone and simply quickly scan the QR code here. Have a look at the digital receipt yourself. If we take this process here, that is as simple as it gets. It's the entire process a consumer will go through during the checkout, simply scanning the QR code, getting the digital receipt, and have a look at it yourself. But we think for the digital receipt, it's much more than that. So
how it works, Stefan, then?
How it works is a good question we maybe need to answer before. I already mentioned the checkout with the QR code. Simply, the QR code is presented to consumer, maybe in the form of a customer-facing display. But also there are solutions. If you don't have a customer-facing display, there are other solutions that we can provide you with. But in the more advanced way, if the consumer does not want to stay anonymous, maybe wants to enjoy a bit more benefits. In that case, the consumer can use his app, his favorite app, maybe a banking app, maybe the app of the retailer, and register his loyalty card or banking card there. And thereby, whenever paying at the store, we could automatically match the receipt to the payment. We take care of that and deliver the receipt directly to consumer without doing anything, without any hassle. Basically, consumer pays, leaves, and he can be assured that the receipt is being delivered to him, thereby fulfilling all legal requirements. For example, in Germany or Austria, you have to get the receipt. These are thereby fulfilled. As I said before, the receipt is much more than just a digital PDF of the receipt itself. So we think that fiscally, the digital receipt, it's all about the experience, it's about the ecosystem itself. And at the heart of all of this is, of course, the interaction between the consumer and the merchant. That needs to be simplified, and this is going to be the make or break probably. So simplifying that, bringing value to the consumer and to the merchant by reducing time and simplifying the interaction, maybe even getting rid of the annoying process at the checkout. That's what the key is about. But also providing value to the POS vendor, who of course provides the product to the merchant. But then again, if we talk about the ecosystem, we can't forget about possible third-party integrations, possibly even banks. I mentioned before, if the consumer wants to register his banking card, that is where we, as a big player, as Fiskaly, comes in, where we are in contact with multiple international banks to provide you exactly that feature, that possibility, so you don't have to take care about it, and we interact with the banks. We offer that value to the merchant and the consumer. Considering the third parties, we could already envision a use case such as accounting, where you simply sign up or enable the third party of accounting software, you pay at the store, you automatically get it forwarded. So that's what we mean when we talk about ecosystem. It's much more than a PDF, it's about the receipt.
That's amazing.
But let's have a closer look at the use cases, Lucia.
Perfect. So, I mean, we have different ones. For now, let's talk about hospitality. What's the current state there? Well, usually you are at a bar, at a restaurant, you pay, you have your meal, and then you need to get a receipt, you need to pay, and then you have the waiter going back and forth because he has to make you pay, and then if you want the receipt, he has to go, get it printed out and bring it to you. What we have seen actually is that during COVID pushed QR as a way of, for example, digitalizing the menu. So what we see right now is that many menus are not paper anymore, but they are together with the QR code. So you're sitting at your table, you use the QR code to get your menu, and then possibility to order via QR code and even to pay. We see now more payments being done via QR code. There is only one piece missing, the receipt. Still in paper? No, we issue it via QR code directly at your table, directly at the tablet from the waiter. And also, of course, we take care of the hospitality receipts because, you know, we know everyone, business people, they go for lunch, they go for dinner, they need an hospitality receipt. We can provide also that. And next would be retail. Okay, guys, so I see that the majority of you is actually now you are all men. I just wanted to imagine last time that your partner or your wife asked you, let's go shopping. Okay, I see the panic in your face, exactly that. Why is that? Maybe it was Christmas time, maybe it was the beginning of sales, and you know why the panic? Because you all know that you will be waiting in line at the cashier for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And seriously, I am myself not a fan of waiting, especially in the line. And actually, it has been proven that the more the time waited in the line, the more is the chance that actually the shoppers are leaving the shop without buying anything, or even actually removing some of their items from the cart, simply because you're not really sure you like it or not, and it fits you or not, and then you are there waiting and thinking, and then maybe you remove some items. So of course, this is not something that we want for our merchants, your customers, and this is not ideal. That's why also online commerce became so popular, because it takes away the hassle of just waiting in the line for payment. Especially in luxury, I think it's very important. You want to have a pleasure, service. You want to have a treat yourself. You don't want to wait in the line. You just want to pay in the same place in the shop where you were served. And at the same time, you want to get the receipt by simply scanning the QR code, or maybe, as Stefan already said, in the background, together with, I don't know, your banks or your favorite card. Because customer experience, this as well. We are talking about a process. The handling of the receipts is not a standalone process, is actually part of a bigger process that is the payment process. And we all know payments is something that needs to be easy, fast, seamless. It's not something nice to do. You don't want to pay, you need to pay. So the more the struggle, the more is the case that maybe you will not pay and not buy in that moment. So we don't want to think about the receipt. The receipt is something that should work in the background. I don't want to think where I have to store the receipts. I have to take care. Maybe it's important. I have to claim a warranty, or I have to return my item. What if I lose the receipts? What if actually after, I don't know, 8 months, my TV breaks down and I need to return it, and then I discover that the receipt has faded away, because printed receipts fade away, digital don't. And that's why, in my opinion, we should just have the possibility to have all our receipts stored in the same place where we know that we can find them if we need. Also, one more case, business. We are all business people. We travel a lot. We go and meet our customers. And then what happens? You need really to take care that you collect all your printed receipts. You store them carefully. And then when you're back after your trip, you need to scan them one by one and send them to your accounting. Actually, for what? Just to get your reimbursement. Imagine digital receipts would allow you not to think about this process, because this process would be actually completely automated. Isn't that cool? So next, and for the POS now.
So we covered the use case of the consumer that you probably can all relate to as you're a consumer yourself. But as a POS vendor, which a lot of you signed up and are interested in the digital receipt, we got to ask ourselves the question, your competition is not sleeping. And we already, in fact, we were at an event 2 days ago, and the digital receipt, it was one of the main topics. It will be the new standard, so you're faced with 2 questions. Actually, 1 question, but 2 options. The question is, of course, about integration. Are you going to do this internally, or are you going to use an external service? Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages for each of them. When doing the integration internally, you, of course, have complete control over your software and implementation. But then again, you have less time for other projects. Maybe there is something that needs to be fixed. Maybe there is a bug. Maybe there are legal requirements that are suddenly coming up that you need to take care of. And these might be more priority. But at the same time, you need to have the receipt available for the merchants. And of course, you can't tackle 2 things at the same time. Not to forget the problem about maintenance and continuous development. If the market moves on, your customers will demand additional features. They would want to be up to date. They want to have the latest features available at all time. So maintaining this and continuously bringing innovation is not an easy task, and it will require resources that, of course, translates to higher costs and in general a lot of effort for you. But having a look at the other side, using an external provider, we can think about few cases why you would want to do that. Besides, of course, reducing costs and giving some time to your other projects, we think there's also the point of compliance as a service, as we would like to call it. What that means for us is, of course, we need to provide and we need to make sure that you're offering a digital receipt that is 100% compliant and can 100% replace the digital receipt in whatever country you're operating in. Taking care of that is our service, and we would solve that pain for you, so you don't have to worry about whether you can replace the printed receipt or not. We take care of what needs to be in the receipt and provide you a platform in order to do that. But also, compliance involves another big thing that becomes more important, especially in Europe. It's GDPR. We want to make sure that the data is handled resourcefully and handled by a trusted provider, and all the consumer data, all the merchant data is in trusted and safe hands. Taking care of that is what we consider as compliance as a service. But there's also the question of innovation, and I mentioned it before. Your market will demand the latest features. They want you to be up to date. They would want you to have third-party integrations, but also partnerships with credit card providers. Taking care of all that, getting in contact with the respective parties, it takes a lot of time, and all of that bundle can be taken over by an external party who will have the focus on the digital receipt and then can take care of all that for you. There is, of course, one point: there will be some less degree of freedom in terms of implementation, but then again, I think a lot of third-party providers are open to talk and are open to consider the needs of the POS vendors in order to also solve that and not really see it as a disadvantage.
Well said, Stefan.
That, of course, brings us directly to the fiskaly receipt. Once again, as being the external provider, we have built the fiskaly receipt specifically for the POS vendors in mind. We consider the POS vendors as partners where we want to offer the receipt, the digital receipt, with them as a partner together to the consumer and to the merchant. We're taking care of the easy receipt delivery, whether that is via QR code, whether that is via loyalty cards or via banking apps. We're taking care of customization on the receipt for the merchant. Some of them consider it as a business card, fair enough. And we also take care of integration with mobile wallets, taking care of integration with banks and all the other third-party providers or partners in our network. But more about the receipt, let's have a look at it.
Sure. So what is our fiskaly receipt? Is it a fully compliant, 100% legally compliant receipt? Is just much more than a PDF file, because it has some blocks. For example, the first block is the logo that is fully customizable by the merchants with the logo and the company information. Then, of course, there is one part that is the standard part with the item, with the discount, with the VAT, with, I don't know, promotion, rabat, discount, yes, vouchers, whatever we need to apply. Also, in this case, here you see a QR code. This is only the security information that are legally there. And of course, then there is like the possibility we allow for the consumer to decide if he wants to save it as a PDF, maybe in his cloud, if he wants to send it via email. So, of course, a lot of freedom there. And because sustainability is an important topic, we also want to let you know that there is, we are doing something good for the environment. But for us, it is actually just much, much more than a digital receipt, than this PDF. It is the ultimate revenue stream for you, but for your customer, it can be, a marketing tool for online marketing, for offline store. What do you know as, for example, your merchants? They don't know anything about customers that are anonymous to them, and they want to stay anonymous. And after they have bought something, I don't know, in the restaurant or in the store, and they are out, they can't contact them anymore because they are anonymous. And we let them be anonymous, but at the same time, we use the receipts, we allow you to use the receipts as another touch point. You can see here, for example, I don't know, I went to buy a pair of jeans, and then upselling, it tells me, oh, together with your jeans, other users have actually bought these items. Or, you know, you, for example, are at the restaurant, you want to have a giveaway, and then you allow them to go on your social media channels for the giveaway. Also, you can improve your KPI, you can have partner integration, reviews, everything what you want. You can also have them subscribe to your newsletter. Whatever you want to communicate with your customer, with your anonymous customer, we allow for that.
All these customizations that are possible with the receipt, we also thought about that. We're providing a dashboard, an interface directly to the merchants. So you as a POS vendor don't have to take care of all the requests from your customers. You don't have to take care of the customization, the interaction with them. All of that can be configured in our dashboard that is accessible from for the merchant directly. Everything can be done there. And also we take away that pain for you, communication with your customer. So with that, I think the big open question in the room, the big elephant is, what's the price for that? Well, and here I just would like to mention the fiscal receipt is free of charge for a limited amount of time for all the attendees of the webinar. For the next few months, we provide you this opportunity. So I would encourage you, get in touch with us, also try it out here, create your own receipt, test it, test our API, have a look at it. It's open and free to use. Get your proof of concept, and once you have that, just don't hesitate to contact us for integrations.
And one more thing, if maybe Elias wants to join us again, we will be present at the Euro Shop. You can tell us more about that, Elias?
Of course, so we would be really happy if we could also meet up in person at the Euro Shop. If anybody of you doesn't have tickets so far, we are also happy to provide the tickets for the Euro Shop. So maybe that's a great opportunity to meet in person as well. Cool. Yes, get in touch with us. Thank you guys. I actually think that was a great presentation. So maybe for me, this is also the opportunity to wrap all the things up and maybe break my initial statement down, one stage further pretty much. So what I said was, you can increase your revenue, lower your costs, and provide more innovation. So if we want to break it down, and I think we heard a lot of details about it, but you know, improve or enhance your revenue. We know also from our partnerships and from our network and looking at the audience today that the audience is coming out of different branches or sectors. And since we are already providing solutions for all of the market pretty much, so talking about big retailers, smaller retailers, pharmacy, POSes, you know, you name it, and we are sure that we provide a solution for that. Enhancing your revenue for retailers pretty much. Lucia talked a lot about the customer journey of your consumers, and we all know how important the customer journey is nowadays. And if you maybe can kind of add the revenue or the money spent from the consumer in your shops, great opportunity, and we can provide a solution for that. Talking about POS vendors, we see on the market that a digital receipt solution is sold for 10 euros, around something like that. And as Stefan said, we don't charge for the solution at this point of time because we want to provide more value. You know, talking about profits on that, great. Then talking about the cost side, I think it also became clear that we take care of everything. It's our focus topic, it's our focus product. So talking about banking integrations, talking about providing and creating more features and even more value, that's all on our side. And there again, kind of leveraging our existing customer and partnership base already, we get input out of different areas. And therefore, at the end of the day, we can provide handcrafted solutions for you again. So use that opportunity, what to wait for actually. We are also kind of supporting the integration process. So integration itself, that should be fairly easy and we support that. And lastly, but to make it short, provide more innovation. I think we heard so many things, so I don't even want to get into detail. But yeah, that's maybe, you know, understanding my initial statement from the beginning better. So really cool. Thank you guys as well. Okay, but last thing, answering the questions, right?
Q&A.
I already see a question there about how does the integration work? That is a good question, actually. In fact, we are following an API first approach. So what that means, we're a purely software-based provider. We provide you with a very simple API that you can integrate. It's one API call that you need to create the digital receipt. In fact, I think one API code is not a lot. And if you're already a customer for fiscalization, we make it even easier. It's not a requirement, but in that case, it's even easier. You just forward us the data at some fields and you're good to go, and the integration is done.
Mm-hmm. Another question would be, what do you mean exactly with the integration with banks? So they have the receipt in the online banking system, question mark?
Yeah, that is one possibility, that you have an account in a German, Austrian, at some bank in the EU, and you register sort of the fiskaly, you connect it with fiskaly receipt. What that means is whenever you pay with your card, you would get a notification or by your banking account that the receipt has been found and it has been added to the transaction in your banking account. That means you can make use or sort of leverage the interface that you already know. It's an app that you're familiar with. You can use it. You can search for maybe a TV that you bought. You search for merchants, companies, and use that to have everything in one place and not maybe use 20 retailer apps or something like that.
Cool. So another question would be, is our solution also possible to use for really large bills? For example, in hospitality, where we are talking about hundreds or thousands of line items?
Our solution does not have a limitation on the size of the receipt. In fact, if you manage to create such a big receipt, we would love to hear from you, and maybe we could compare it to a printed receipt, which we know are already quite huge. And I would love to see your solution when you add hundreds or thousands of line items there. In fact, there's no limitation. And mentioning the hospitality, no problem. You can also add hospitality information there as a business. If you go out, maybe business dinner, business lunch, no problem. Just add your information there and you can use it for tax or getting the tax back afterwards.
Yes. Also, maybe this is the right question to talk about our kind of, you know, the highest frequency on the receipt system. You know, we also kind of are the solution provider for big festivals, for example, where we had a couple of thousand receipts per hour. I think per day we talked about 150,000 receipts over our system. How did our system handle this load?
In fact, we didn't get any notification, which means no error at all. It worked so far perfectly fine.
That's good to hear. Okay, then another question. Are there summaries about the receipts available?
About the countries available, currently we cover, I assume it's about the availability of the countries. In that case, we currently cover the necessities for all countries in Europe and far beyond. I would, in case you have specific questions for a country, reach out to us, as I said before, compliance as a service. If there's any question, we take care of that.
Perfect. I didn't want to interrupt because I think this information was really important, but actually I think this question is going into another direction, like if our system is handling or taking care of a receipt, can the merchant or the post provider access this receipt again?
Of course, there is no limitation in terms of time restrictions. The receipts are stored and not deleted so far. So unless for GDPR compliance, of course, but other than that, the receipt is available without limitations.
Another question is the countries you mentioned, are we only talking about Europe or also beyond?
We are also talking about beyond that. We are focusing mainly on Europe right now, but if you have interest in other countries, Asia, America, any other, Australia or Africa, I think that covers it all. Reach out to us, we will be able to handle that.
Cool. So another question would be, what is the experience of the integration time for our product? Can you give maybe a timeline what we are kind of seeing out of our experience with different partners?
Yeah, I think a good timeline for integrating the receipt is 1 or 2 weeks. I think we had one customer who managed to do this in half a day. That was sort of the record we heard so far. Yeah, I think 1 week, maybe 2 weeks is not unreasonable. It's a fairly simple product to create the digital receipt. So
should we make a competition out of that?
Yeah, it seems like it actually. So a half a day is the record by now. So, and I think that's maybe also the opportunity for us to again state, please reach out, let us explain the solution to kind of make your integration process way easier. We're happy to support and help. And yeah, with that, I would see no further questions. So thanks for your attendance, for your time. Looking forward to talk to each other pretty much.
From my side, have a look out. If you see a digital receipt, think of us, and thank you for attending.
Thank you so much. Our contacts are there. We're very happy to answer all your questions. If there are any concerns, let us know. Thank you.
Bye.